Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Aimi binti Ismail. My matrix number is 193772. Today, I'm going to present my final year research project on error analysis on verb conjugation among German language learners. According to the Merriam-Webster, language is a combination of words and pronunciation forming together for the understanding of people. And also, according to the Merriam-Webster, for the communication, it is a process of passing the information between two or more people by using symbols, signs, and behavior. So, language and communication, it is closely related to each other because through language we communicate with others. So in other words, language is a medium for us to communicate with each other. So let's move on to the theory of the second language, which is SLA. Okay, when someone learns a language other than a native language, which is our mother tongue, thus this means that first language is known as L1, while on the other hand, the second language is called L2. So in Malaysia, all of us must learn English as a second language, and it's also part of our curriculum. And as for me, since Malaysia has a lot of races, there are a lot of different first language used in Malaysia. And as for me, I use Malay language as my mother tongue and English as my second language, which is L2. So if you learn another language, it is called third language acquisition, which is in this case, I'm learning German as my third language. So what is third language? As I said before, the process of learning other than the second language is recognized as TLA, which is the third language acquisition. So the background of the study. Firstly, our former Malaysia Education Minister, which is Datuk Mazli Malik, had encouraged all of the Malaysians to learn other languages, such as Arabic, German, Japanese language, Korean language, and many on, and so on. Okay, in fact, it will open the door to a lot of job opportunities for students. As you know, beside English, Mandarin is the most learned language in this world because as we see in the economy itself, if you have another skill such as extra language, you are most probably be selected to get the job opportunities. So in Malaysia right now, universities in Malaysia nowadays are all required their students to learn foreign language. For instance, German language. But nevertheless, it is not easy to learn foreign language. It is not really easy because learners tend to transfer their L1 knowledge when learning L2 or even the third language itself. As for example, if you were a kid, you gonna acquire the second language or any other language that you learn as a second language easily because at that stage, their mind can absorb things very quickly. And as for the adult, since they use the first language, they acquire the first language to acquire the second language, and even the third language might be hard for them because they need to learn it from scratch. And thus, the focus of this study will be on TLA, which is the third language acquisition by the Malaysian learners on German language itself. So, the problem statement of the study. According to the overview of error analysis is a way to analyze error that exists when learner is learning a new language. This is also to explain the error and its causes and also the sources of the error itself. In contrast to error analysis for English in written context, such study in German context is not many like English context or Malay language in Malaysia. And even I did the research on it, I couldn't find the exact one error analysis on verb conjugation in Malaysia. So according to Tan, there is one research that conducts the cross-linguistic influence. In the research, the participants tend to apply their L2 knowledge in the TLA, both in writing and oral skill. This eventually resulted in negative transfer from both L1 and L2 in the third language acquisition, and thus making them have low proficiency in the target language. So what does it mean by here? Since they already have Malay as a first language, or Chinese or Tamil, when they learn English, they already have if some of the students not really good in English, and then they already negative do the negative transfer in L1 to L2, and then when they learn the third language, they're gonna have another negative transfer in it, and thus making them here low proficiency in that language. So next is the research objective and research question for the error analysis on verb conjugation among German language learner. Firstly, I want to analyze the verb conjugation error made by the German language learners. And secondly, I want to find out the cause of the error when learners conjugate the verb. For the research question, I want to find out what kinds of error that learners encounter when conjugating the verb and why they met verb conjugation error. So for the literature review, as I explained before, we were going to focus on error analysis and interlingual and intralingual error. So according to Duley, Bird, and Krashen, as cited in Sermsud, Limity, and Poshakon, it says the way to analyze the errors made by the learners who learn a new language is called error analysis. And according to Coder, errors made by the learners in learning the language can be analyzed systematically for it to be able to decide the part of teaching that need to be strengthened. So in this case, it's going to focus on verb conjugation. As for, we can give an insight to what can be improvised for the verb conjugation teaching method. And for the interlingual and intralingual error, for the intralingual error, this is what I explained before, how the negative transfer happened from L1 to L2 and to TLA. It is the learner's L1 influence toward the target language. And the intralingual error, it's happened between the target language itself, and it has 4 types of intralingual error, which is overgeneralization, ignorance of rule restriction, incomplete application of rules, and false concepts. So the methodology that I'm going to use in this study is research design. It's quantitative method and qualitative method. And the participant for this study is a 3rd and final year student of Bachelor of Arts majoring in German language. Their age will be around 20 to 25 years old, and the first language must be Malay, and they must at least have learn the German language until A2 level. So the instrument that we're going to use I'm going to use in this research is I'm studying the verb conjugation in the written context. So I'm giving them an essay question that and the topic is SMS to a friend on asking him to see a pair of shoes at the shop. And the length of the essay actually has been extended a little bit from 20 to 30 words to 30 to 40 words. And the data collection, data analysis that using this research, I'm gonna use a Coder 5 stages of error analysis, which is the collection of sample errors, the identification of errors, the description of error, the explanation of error, and the evaluation of error. So next is the data collection. The data collection will be used from through Google Form. Since the pandemic, a face-to-face class could not be made. So instead of passing the survey question and the essay question hand-ons, we use the Google form and distribute it among the third and final year student. And also an instruction regarding the prohibition of an online dictionary, machine translation, and any software that helps in conjugating the verb is prohibited. And also the collection, one of the 5 stages that I use in the data collection is the collection of sampling error, which means I'm going to collect and I want to see what is the error that they made. So the data analysis. Data analysis, I'm going to use the next 4 stages of error analysis, which is the identification of error would be made by identifying the verb conjugation error, and then going to classify it into 4 grammatical features, which is personal pronouns, nouns, tenses, and lastly the modal verb. And after that, the description of error will be used to describe the error that has been made and collected, and also the description of the verb conjugation error that learners made will be done. And also next is the explanation of error, as to explain why these errors happen, and also to explain to answer the research question number 2. And lastly, the evaluation of error will be carried out to evaluate the verb conjugation error made by the student. So the result of the discussion, 13 out of 19 participants had made verb conjugation error. This is mean only 6 of them doesn't make any error, any verb conjugation error. And I personally see that most of them have problem in conjugating verb accordingly to the nouns and personal pronouns. As you can see here, the most used one is the personal pronouns, and the less used one is the less errors according to this one is the tenses. So the summary of the research question 1, as I stated before, we want to study what kinds of error that learners encounter when conjugating the verb. So firstly is the personal pronoun. As you can see here, the personal pronoun for I, which is ish, is the most used one, but has the less percentage error than the Z. V for they, and also Z, the former you. Why this happened is going to be explained in the research question 2. However, what I'm expecting for the participant to do most error, the do one that doesn't really allocated that much. They make most error on conjugating accordingly to the Z form you and they. And the next one is the nouns. According to the table 3, we can see that the noun for the shoes, die Schuhe, seems to have a lot of error compared to the other nouns that used in the essay of the participants. And obviously, the frequency of the noun usage is much more than other nouns that use in this essay. And for the tenses, I don't focus on the presence because the personal pronouns already focus on the present tense. So I focus on the preteritum and perfect, and it seems that they don't have any problem in conjugating according to the tenses, preteritum and perfect. And the list of tenses, so the next one is the modal verb, and only one error that is found in the participants' essay, which is the modal verb when they use the modal verb möchten. Because as you can see here, können, möchten, wollen, they don't have any problem. Können and wollen, they don't have any problem in conjugating it except for möchten. So, summary of the research question 2. There are 5 causes of error that have been recognized, which is capitalization, verb conjugation error because of plural noun, personal pronouns for verb conjugation error, misspelling error, and wrong use of modal verb. The capitalization error is the most error that I personally think have been made in the essay, because they mistaken the Z former U to Z, the Z for she, and also Z for they. So if we write in the essay, it should be the big S, the capital S, to say as Z for plural noun, Z for the former U. So, and then the second most error that have been done is the verb conjugation error because of plural pronoun. As you can see just now in the nouns list, in the list of the nouns, it seems dishua is the most that have the most error out of the nouns that is used. This is because they actually mistaken it dishua as a singular verb instead of plural verb. So, and then other errors such as personal pronoun, misspelling error, and wrong use of modal verb is happening in the participant AC. So next, the participants are well aware about the method of conjugating a verb, yet because of the error like capitalization and misspelling error had resulted in the wrong conjugation. Just like I said before, they mistaken Z, for example, Z for she, they mistake it, Z for they mistaken it as Z for she. So instead of zin, it's become Z is. So next is, like I said before, like I already explained, for the personal pronoun, for the plural pronoun, they mistaken it as singular instead of plural, thus the conjugation had become wrong also. And carelessness is one of the causes that cause the misspelling and capitalization error in the participant essay. Next is the differences between L1 sentence and grammar structure, and also TLA sentence and grammar structure, which is in this case Malay and German language. They don't have the same grammar and sentence structure, which is make it make it difficult for students to apply it and to understand it more better. And this is considered as interlingual error because of the L1 influence on the target language. And then the wrong use of modal verb is an example of intralingual error, because there is one participant that make use of wrong sentence structure, mushters do. Actually, if you use modal verb, you should have another verb behind it. And this error is called incomplete application of the rule in the sentence structure, thus hence resulting in incomplete sentence by using modal verb. So the conclusion for this, overall, there are many types of verb conjugation errors made by the learners when learning the German language, but because of the unfamiliarity of the Malay language in verb conjugation, is one of the reasons that students having problem in conjugating the verb. And thus, from this unfamiliarity also, the intralingual error happen, and also because the negative influence from L1, and also in this case L2 also played a role in it, had made student become more confused, although they know how to conjugate it, but because of the carelessness because of the negative transfer of the L1 and L2 and intralingual error also, student make mistake in conjugating the verb. And like I said before, in Malaysia, English is a part of the school curriculum, and they use that kind of L2 influence into the TLA. And sometimes when I read their sentence, it sounds more like an English sentence instead of German. And there are some examples that have have Malay sounds kind of sentence instead of German. And and as I said before, this is partly because verb conjugation is not really used in Malay language, and also in English that the conjugation of the verb is not that as many as in German language. So the suggestion that I have for this kind of research, like I said previously, there are not really much of verb conjugation of error analysis on verb conjugation in my German language learner. So I hope that a research on this kind of studies can be done more extensively because it can give an insight not to the teachers but also to the learners on how they can avoid this kind of mistake, this kind of error, and how can they understand uh, on this verb conjugation process. And maybe it could also help the teachers to have an insight on or idea to better enhance their teaching method, and also for the learners to have a better ways of learning verb conjugation. So that's all from me. Thank you.